The lighting intensifies in the studio as the opening music fades. The familiar Dr. Phil set appears on screen, with its characteristic blue hue and the audience waiting anxiously. The camera zooms in on Dr. Phil's serious face, adjusting his jacket while observing the monitors. He has that look, the same one his viewers have known for decades, a mixture of curiosity, compassion, and the inevitable moral judgment that is to come. Today, we're going to hear a story that challenges everything we thought we knew about family abandonment and second chances, says Dr. Phil, his deep voice echoing through the studio. A 23-year-old man received something he never expected, a mysterious box from his mother, who disappeared when he was just 5 years old. A woman declared dead by the system. Until now, the camera pans to a nervous-looking young man sitting in the main chair. He rubs his hands together, his gaze shifting between the floor and the sealed box in front of him, as if suppressing the urge to open it or throw it away. Beside him, an older man, with gray hair and a face marked by time, keeps a firm hand on the young man's shoulder. This is the story of Tyler Jensen and his father, Robert, a family shattered by the mystery of Melissa Jensen's disappearance nearly 2 decades ago. A story of unanswered questions, until this box anonymously sent to Tyler's home last week changed everything. The camera focuses on the simple, medium-sized box, wrapped in brown paper and sealed with brown tape. A handwritten label reads simply, "For Tyler," from his mother. Before we continue with this impactful story, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of Dr. Phil's upcoming revelations. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and what you think will happen in this case. Your opinion is very important for us to continue bringing you this exclusive content that transforms lives. The studio lights dim subtly, creating a more intimate atmosphere as Dr. Phil looks directly at Tyler, who seems to shrink under the weight of the host's penetrating gaze. Tyler, you were only 5 years old when your mother disappeared without a trace. Tell us what you remember from that day. Tyler takes a deep breath, his whole body trembling slightly. Honestly, Dr. Phil, I don't remember much. It was a normal day. My father had gone to work. My mother dropped me off at preschool, as she always did. His voice falters, but she never came back to pick me up. The camera zooms in on Robert, who closes his eyes briefly, as if that memory still physically hurt him. "And what happened next?" asks Dr. Phil, his voice now softer. "My father came to pick me up. He was desperate. The police were called immediately. They searched everywhere. Her car was found in a shopping mall parking lot, 30 kilometers from home. The keys were still in the ignition, but there was no sign of her." Dr. Phil turns to Robert. "Robert, you've raised Tyler alone ever since. How was it explaining to a 5-year-old that his mother had disappeared?" Robert rubs his face with his calloused hands. "Impossible. Phil. How do you explain something you don't understand yourself? I used to say she'd gone to take care of something important and would be back soon. But as the months passed, Tyler stopped asking." Dr. Phil nodded gravely. "And after 7 years, Melissa was declared legally dead." "Yes," Robert confirms. "There was no banking activity, no sign of her anywhere. The police suspected me for a while, as is usually the case with husbands, but there was absolutely no evidence of a crime. It was as if she had simply evaporated." The camera returns to Tyler, who now holds the box firmly in his lap. "I grew up with a picture of her on my bedside table. My father never let me forget her. He always said she loved us very much. And then, last week, this box arrived." Dr. Phil gestures toward the package. "No return address, just your name and address. How did you feel when you received it?" "Terror," Tyler admits. "Anger, confusion, hope, all at once. I recognized her immediately." Phil raises his eyebrows. "What do you mean?" "The handwriting. It's hers. I have old letters, notes. It's my mother's handwriting, without a doubt." The audience lets out a collective gasp. The tension is almost palpable. "And you brought the box all the way here without opening it," Dr. Phil observes. "Why?" Tyler looks at his father before answering. "Because I didn't want to do this alone. 18 years, Phil. 18 years without a word, without a sign. And now, this. I needed help to face whatever is inside me." Dr. Phil leans forward, elbows resting on his knees, in his characteristic posture of total attention. "Tyler, Robert, before we open this box, I need you to understand something. Whatever is inside could change everything you thought you knew about Melissa and her disappearance. Robert nods slowly, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. I always knew this day could come, drive Phil. Part of me never believed she was dead. And you, Tyler, are you prepared for the possibilities? Tyler grips the box tighter. I have to be here. I've spent my whole life imagining this moment. Doctor. Phil stands up and walks over to Tyler's side. Shall we do this together, then? Or would you prefer to open it alone? Together, Tyler replies, his voice barely audible. The camera zooms in as Tyler begins to carefully remove the tape, his hands trembling. The amplified sound of the tape being ripped off echoes through the silent studio. He opens the flaps of the box and freezes, his face instantly pale. What are you seeing, Tyler? Doctor. Phil asks, his voice now a tense whisper. Tyler swallows hard, unable to speak. Doctor. Phil looks inside the box and his expression changes, the rare expression his most loyal viewers recognize as genuine surprise, something the season host rarely displays. There's a letter, Doctor. Phil finally tells the audience, and other things. Tyler finally finds his voice. There's a letter addressed to me, and Doctor. Phil, these are my baby things. My birth bracelet, my first baby shoe, and these are photos I've never seen before. Robert approaches, looking inside the box. His face loses color. My God, he murmurs. Tyler, would you feel comfortable reading the letter to us? Doctor, Phil asks kindly. Tyler nods, taking an envelope from the box. He carefully opens it and unfolds several pages of paper. The camera focuses on his trembling hands as he begins to read. My dear Tyler, he begins, his voice choked with emotion. If you're reading this, it means I have found the courage to send this box. First, I need to say something you deserve to hear. I'm so sorry. More than words can express. The camera alternates between Tyler's face and Robert's, who appears to be in shock. I didn't disappear because I didn't love you. I disappeared because I loved you too much to drag you into the hell my life had become. Tyler pauses, taking a deep breath before continuing. I suffered from severe postpartum depression that evolved into a psychotic disorder. I heard voices, Tyler. Voices that told me I was a danger to you. A murmur runs through the audience. Doctor. Phil remains unusually quiet, allowing Tyler to continue. That day, the voices got so loud I was afraid of what I might do, so I ran away. I voluntarily checked myself into a psychiatric hospital in another state, using a different name. I was convinced that you and your father would be better off without me. Tyler stops reading, tears now streaming freely down his face. I didn't. I never knew. Doctor. Phil places a hand on Tyler's shoulder. Do you want me to continue reading to you? Tyler shakes his head negatively, determined to continue. I spent years in treatment, moving from place to place. When I finally got better enough to realize what I had done, you had already grown up without me. Shame consumed me. How could I reappear after so long? What right did I have to disrupt the life you and Robert had built? Robert lets out a strangled sound, almost a sob. She thought we were better off without her. He murmurs, incredulous. Tyler keeps reading. But I watched you from afar, Tyler, at every graduation, at every important game. I was there, in the back rows, just to see the man you've become. I have entire scrapbooks of newspaper clippings about your achievements on the swim team, your science awards. Phil intervenes. She was there, even when you didn't think so. There's more, Tyler says, turning the page. Robert, my love, I know you probably hate me, and you have every right to. But I want you to know that I never, not for a second, stopped loving you. You were the best husband and father anyone could wish for. It was my untreated illness that drove us away, not any fault of yours. Robert covers his face with his hands, his shoulders trembling silently. Finally, there's something you both need to know, Tyler continues, his voice now almost a whisper. I'm sick, not mentally this time, but physically. I have an inoperable brain tumor. The doctors gave me 6 months to live. Before I go, I needed you to know the truth. And there's one more thing. Tyler stops abruptly, staring at the letter with wide eyes. What is it, Tyler? Asks Dr. Phil, his own curiosity now genuine. What else does she say? Tyler looks at the box again and then back at the letter. It says, at the bottom of the box, there's a sealed envelope. Inside it is the last piece of this puzzle. Something that will change everything you think you know about our family. The camera focuses on Tyler's hand as he reaches to the bottom of the box and pulls out a brown envelope sealed with red wax. The envelope feels heavy, as if it contains more than just paper. Doctor. Phil watches with increasing intensity. Tyler, do you want to open it now? Tyler looks at his father, who nods slightly. Yes. We need to know everything. With trembling fingers, Tyler breaks the wax seal and opens the envelope. He looks inside and freezes completely. His expression changes from confusion to utter shock. Tyler, doctor, Phil asks, concerned. Slowly, as if in a trance, Tyler pulls an old key from the envelope, followed by several photos and an official document. He looks at the photos one by one, his face growing paler and paler. They're photos of my mother. With a baby, he murmurs. But it's not me. Robert stands up abruptly. What? Tyler continues, his voice now almost inaudible. And this document, it's a birth certificate for a girl named Emma Jensen, born 1 year after I was born. The audience lets out exclamations of surprise. Robert seems completely stunned. What does this mean? Tyler asks, looking to Doctor Phil for answers. Doctor Phil picks up the document and examines it carefully. His face goes through a series of emotions before settling into an expression of extreme gravity. He then looks at the photographs and finally at the key. Without warning, Dr. Phil turns to the production crew. Stop filming. Right now, the studio falls into absolute silence. The cameras continue rolling, but Dr. Phil raises his hand in a definite gesture to pause. Everyone except Tyler and Robert needs to leave the studio, he says with an authority that leaves no room for question. Even the audience. This isn't a show right now. It's a situation that requires complete privacy. The audience begins to murmur in confusion, but the production assistants are already on the move, guiding people out. The main studio lights are dimmed, leaving only the essential lights on. And turn off the lapel microphones. Dr. Phil instructs the technical team. Just keep one camera on, for documentation. Tyler, still holding the photographs and the document, seems completely lost. Dr. Phil, what's going on? Dr. Phil waits until the studio is nearly empty before responding. Tyler, Robert, what we're seeing here is evidence of something extremely serious. Something that can have significant legal implications. The studio, now almost empty, seems strangely immense and cavernous. Only Tyler, Robert, Dr. Phil, and 2 members of the technical crew remain. The single camera continues filming discreetly, capturing this unprecedented moment in the show's history. Dr. Phil sits directly across from Tyler and Robert, without the usual barrier of the table between them. His voice, normally aimed at the audience, is now low and intensely focused. In 30 years of working with families in crisis, I have rarely encountered something of this magnitude, he begins. What Melissa has revealed here is not just the story of her disappearance and mental illness. It is the revelation of a second child, a daughter whose existence has been completely hidden from you. Robert looks like he aged 10 years in a matter of minutes. This can't be real. I would have known if Melissa were pregnant again. Dr. Phil points to the photographs. These were taken at different stages. Robert, look at the dates on the back. The first one is from just 3 months after Melissa disappeared. Tyler examines the photos again, his expression shifting from shock to painful understanding. She was pregnant when she disappeared, he whispers. She didn't know, or perhaps she did, and the psychological trauma. Exactly, Dr. Phil confirms. Based on what we're seeing here, Melissa discovered her pregnancy after her psychiatric hospitalization. She decided to have the baby, but in her fragile mental state, she convinced herself that she couldn't return or even inform you. Robert takes the photos from Tyler's hands, studying them intently. My God, I have a daughter I've never met. His voice breaks completely. Dr. Phil picks up the key that came in the envelope. This key belongs to a bank vault. The number is engraved here. He points to the tiny inscription on the side of the key. Melissa's final letter explains that she has set up a trust fund for Emma, who must now be 17 years old. Tyler seems dazed. I have a sister. Yes, Dr. Phil confirms. And there's more. The last paragraph of her mother's letter indicates that Emma was raised by a foster family, selected by Melissa, a family that knew the whole story, but agreed to keep it a secret until Melissa was ready to reveal the truth, or until she died. Robert adds bitterly. Dr. Phil nods gravely. The letter ends with a final request that you decide if you want to meet Emma. She is aware of the situation and, according to Melissa, is waiting for you. The address is on the document inside the safe. Tyler looks at his father, a new determination emerging in his eyes. We have to find her, Dad. She's our family. Robert, still visibly shaken, finally nods. Yes, yes, of course, yes. Doctor. Phil looks at them both with an expression that mixes compassion and seriousness. That's why I stopped the recording. This isn't just a dramatic television moment. It's a real family crisis that deserves dignity and privacy. Emma is a minor. There are complex legal, emotional, and ethical issues involved. He turns to the camera, which is still recording. What we're witnessing here is no longer a television program. It's a family discovering a truth that will fundamentally alter their lives. That's why I'm offering you both all the necessary support, legal, psychological, and logistical, to deal with this situation away from the cameras. Tyler, still holding the key, looks at Dr. Phil gratefully. What do we do now? The studio lighting suddenly changes, indicating the passage of time. Dr. Phil is back in his usual spot, but the atmosphere is completely different. There's no audience, just him, looking directly at the camera. There are times when truth transcends entertainment. He begins, his voice carrying an unusual weight. What we witnessed today with Tyler and Robert Jensen was one of those moments. The camera pulls back slightly, revealing Tyler and Robert sitting next to Dr. Phil, their expressions calmer, but still visibly processing everything they've discovered. Over the past 48 hours, we've worked behind the scenes to help this family navigate a revelation that has changed everything for them. With their permission, I can share with you that Tyler and Robert visited the bank and accessed the safe deposit box indicated in Melissa's letter. Tyler nods in confirmation. We found detailed documents about Emma, including school reports, yearly photographs, and letters my mother wrote to her over the years. And most importantly, adds Robert, his voice stronger now, we found contact information for the family that raised her. We spoke to them last night. Dr. Phil looks at them both with evident pride. And how did that conversation go? Tyler smiles for the first time since opening the box. Surprisingly good. Phil. They were expecting us. My mother had prepared them for this moment. Emma knew about us since she was 15. And now, Robert continues, we planned a meeting for next weekend. Emma wants to meet us as much as we want to meet her. Dr. Phil turns to the camera again. I silenced the studio and stopped recording because I immediately recognized what was happening. This wasn't just another shocking family secret to fuel our show. It was a sacred moment of discovery that could define the future of a 17-year-old girl, a girl who didn't choose to be in the spotlight. He stands and walks forward, his imposing figure dominating the screen. In a world obsessed with exposure, where we share everything in search of validation, we need to remember that some truths deserve privacy. Some journeys need to happen away from the public eye. The camera zooms in on her face, capturing the intensity of her expression. Melissa Jensen made deeply painful mistakes driven by a devastating mental illness, but in her final acts, by revealing the truth and creating a path for her family to reconnect, she demonstrated a love that transcends her flaws. Phil gestures to Tyler and Robert. This family now embarks on an extraordinary journey of healing and rediscovery, a journey that honors Emma's privacy and respects the complexity of her emotions. He returns to his seat. For those wondering why I silenced the studio, I did so because there are times when our role is not to expose, but to protect, not to dramatize, but to humanize, not to exploit, but to uplift. Dr. Phil looks directly into the camera one last time. Truth doesn't always need an audience to be powerful. Sometimes, silence is exactly the space truth needs to flourish and heal. And in a world that is rarely quiet enough to listen, we have to be brave enough to create that silence when it's needed. The camera slowly pulls back as Tyler and Robert move closer, a silent embrace that speaks volumes. The image gradually fades to black, leaving only Dr. Phil's voice echoing, because in the end, it's not the secrets revealed that define a family. It's the courage to face those secrets together. It's the strength to rebuild what was broken. And it's the wisdom to understand that sometimes the truest love isn't the one that shouts to the world, but the one that whispers directly to the heart. The screen fades to black as the soft chords of the ending music begin to play. The final words appear on the screen. Tyler, Robert, and Emma met for the first time away from the cameras. At the family's request, this moment will remain private. Melissa Jensen passed away peacefully 3 weeks after the box was sent, knowing that her family finally knew the whole truth.